Have you ever gotten genuinely angry, raised your voice, slammed a door, moved through your home with that tight, clipped energy that fills a room, and looked over to find your cat completely frozen, staring at you? Most people assume their cat is just startled, maybe a little rattled. No big deal. But what's actually happening inside your cat's mind in that moment is something most owners never stop to ask about. And if you don't understand it, you could be damaging the one thing your cat values more than anything else, without ever realizing you did it. Let's start with the first thing your cat registers. The second your anger enters the room. 1. They don't hear your words. They read your body. Have you ever noticed that your cat reacts before you even raise your voice? You might still be perfectly quiet, jaw tight, shoulders drawn up, breathing short and shallow, and your cat is already watching you differently. Already still. Already tracking. Most people think their cat responds to volume and tone, so they assume that as long as they're not yelling, their cat has no idea anything is wrong. But here's what's really happening. Your cat isn't listening for words. They're watching your body. Cats process the world through motion and micro movement with extraordinary precision, and your body changes completely when you're angry, long before a single sound leaves your mouth. Your posture locks. Your movements become sharper, less fluid. The rhythm of how you walk through a room shifts in ways you'd never consciously notice. Every one of those cues is information your cat is processing in real time. Research into how cats perceive their owners confirms that domestic cats are highly attuned to human body language and movement patterns, likely an extension of the same finely tuned detection system they use to track prey. And emerging evidence suggests that cats may also detect shifts in stress chemistry through scent. When your body is flooded with tension, you don't just move differently, you smell different. Your cat is reading a version of you that you can't even see yourself. That's not your cat being skittish. That's your cat doing what they've done for thousands of years, scanning every available signal in the room, and right now, every signal is pointing directly at you. We'll come back to what your cat actually decides to do with all of that information. And when you hear it, the way you think about your anger around them will never be quite the same. 2. Your face becomes a threat signal. Have you ever locked eyes with your cat mid-argument? Maybe the anger wasn't even directed at them. Maybe you were upset about something else entirely. And watch them immediately look away, flatten their ears, or quietly leave the room. Most people take it personally, or brush it off. They figure their cat is being oversensitive, or simply doesn't understand that none of it was about them. But here's what most people don't realize. Your cat isn't misreading the situation. They're reading it through the only lens they have. In cat social language, direct unblinking eye contact paired with a rigid, tense body isn't a neutral expression. It's a confrontation signal. It's what a cat looks like in the seconds before something violent happens. And your face, when you're angry, eyes wide and locked forward, jaw set, no slow deliberate blink to soften it, maps almost perfectly onto that template. Researchers studying how cats respond to human eye contact found that the slow blink, that gradual deliberate closing of the eyes, functions as a safety signal between cats and their owners. Its absence, especially paired with tense body language, registers as something closer to a challenge. In feral colony observations, sustained mutual staring almost always precedes aggression. Your cat isn't projecting. They're pattern matching, and the pattern you're showing them is one their nervous system has been trained over millennia to treat as dangerous. That's not your cat ignoring you. That's your cat seeing something threatening in the face of the person they love most. And there's one thing your cat does after a moment like this that looks completely like indifference, but is actually the opposite of it. I'll get to that in the final section, and it's the part most owners never realize. And hey, if this is already changing the way you see your cat right now, hit that like button and subscribe. That's how we get these videos to more cat owners who want to understand what their cat has been trying to tell them all along. 3. They think the territory is breaking down. Have you ever noticed that after a heated moment in your home, even one that had nothing to do with your cat, they spend the next hour restless, more alert than usual, moving between rooms like they're checking something? Most people chalk it up to cats being unpredictable. They figure the cat will settle down and move on. But here's what's really happening. To your cat, the home isn't just a building. It's a carefully mapped, scent-marked, emotionally calibrated space that is supposed to feel predictable, safe, constant. When anger moves through that space, it doesn't just affect the moment. It destabilizes the entire environment. Raised voices shift the acoustic texture of the home. Slammed doors send vibrations through surfaces your cat is resting on. The emotional temperature of the room, which your cat monitors the way we might monitor weather, swings sharply in a direction their instincts associate with threat rather than security. Research into feline stress and environmental well-being has found that unpredictability, sudden loud noise, erratic movement, irregular human emotional states, is one of the primary drivers of anxiety in indoor cats. Unlike some animals that can compartmentalize a stressful event and return quickly to baseline, cats often remain physiologically elevated for a period after the disruption passes. The territory feels different, and until it feels familiar again, their nervous system stays on. That's not your cat being dramatic. That's your cat experiencing the place they call home starting to feel like somewhere they don't quite recognize. 4. Their first instinct is to freeze, and what that really means. Have you ever seen your cat go completely still during an angry moment? Not running, not hiding, just frozen in place, body low, eyes enormous, like every muscle has turned to stone? Most people assume the cat is confused or too scared to move. Some owners actually take the stillness as reassurance. Because the cat isn't fleeing, it must mean things are okay. But here's what's really happening. Freezing is not calm. In the biology of how mammals respond to threat, freezing is what happens when danger is too close and too unpredictable to outrun safely. It's a survival calculation, not a passive response. When your cat locks up in the middle of your anger, their nervous system has just shifted into its highest state of alert. They are gathering every available piece of information. Your movement, your sound, the direction you're facing, before committing to any action. You are no longer a predictable presence. In that frozen moment, you are an unknown variable. Behavioral research on how cats respond to perceived threat confirms that this freeze response comes with a significant spike in physiological stress. The cat's heart rate rises. Their muscles prime for movement. Everything about their internal state is the opposite of the stillness their body is showing. They are holding their breath, waiting for the signal that tells them what comes next. That's not your cat handling it well. That's your cat waiting to find out if the person they trust most is still safe to be near. 5. They remember. And their trust has a ledger. Have you ever noticed that after a genuinely difficult moment, something between you and your cat feels slightly different for a while? Not broken, but quieter. Your cat still comes around, but maybe from a foot or two farther back than usual. Most people have heard that cats live in the present, that they forget quickly, that by the next meal, the whole thing has been reset. So they don't worry too much about the emotional aftermath. But here's what most people don't realize. Cats don't nurse grievances the way people do, but they do remember. And what they're filing away isn't the argument itself. It's the feeling of you. Every interaction you have with your cat is quietly updating an internal record of whether you are a predictable, safe presence or an unpredictable one. That record isn't kept in conscious thought. It lives in their nervous system, in how quickly their body softens when you walk in whether they choose to close the distance between you or hold it. Research on how cats form attachments with their owners, including a widely cited study from Oregon State University, found that the majority of bonded cats display what attachment researchers call a secure style, meaning they use their owner as an emotional anchor. That security is built on consistency. When the person who serves as your cat's safe base becomes a source of alarm, even occasionally, behavioral researchers have observed that cats can show increased stress responses and reduced social approach over time. A single episode doesn't undo the bond. But patterns do leave marks. That's not your cat being distant. That's your cat quietly deciding how much of themselves it's safe to offer you. 6. What they do after, and what it tells you everything. Have you ever had a genuinely difficult moment? Real anger that filled the room, the kind that surprised even you. And then, an hour later, found your cat walking over and simply sitting down near you. Not asking for anything, not making a sound, just settling within reach, tucking their paws underneath them, and staying. Most people either don't register it, or they take it as confirmation that everything is fine, and their cat has already moved on. They go back to their evening without a second thought. But that quiet return is not forgetting. It is a choice. Think about everything we've covered. Your cat read the tension in your body before you spoke. They registered the threat signal in your face. Their nervous system fired into full alert. They felt the familiar safety of their home shift into something unsettled. And then, when the storm passed, they came back. Not because they had to. Not because it was time to eat. Because something in them measured the fear against the bond, and the bond won. And remember what I mentioned earlier. The thing your cat does after a frightening moment that looks like indifference, but is actually the opposite? This is it. That silent return across the room is one of the most emotionally loaded things a domestic cat can do, and most owners watch it happen without ever understanding what they're seeing. Cats are not wired for obligatory companionship the way some animals are. They carry no deep evolutionary pressure to remain near a presence that has frightened them. In the wild, the rational response to a large, unpredictable creature is distance. Full stop. The fact that your cat doesn't take that option, the fact that they come back, lower themselves nearby, and simply wait for things to feel right again, is not instinct. It is attachment overriding instinct. Research on feline attachment describes securely bonded cats as returning to calm and exploration after a stressful event, specifically because their owner's presence acts as a regulating force. Researchers call this returning to a safe base. What makes it extraordinary is that the safe base and the source of the stress are the same person. Your cat experienced alarm because of you, and then sought comfort in you. That behavioral loop, fear, withdrawal, return, is not confusion. It is the signature of a bond with genuine depth. Your cat doesn't need you to be steady every moment. They don't need you to never be loud or tense or fully, messily human. What they need is for you to understand what those moments cost them, and to see that when they come back and sit beside you in silence, they are not telling you it didn't matter. They are telling you that you matter more. That is not forgiveness, the way we think about it. That is something older than language, and something quieter than love usually gets credit for being. To your cat, you are not a perfect presence. You are not a calm, controlled, endlessly patient thing. You are a real, complicated, sometimes frightening person, and they have chosen to love you anyway. That is not loyalty. That is devotion.